right, what's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. Thrilled to be here with you. I am Dr. Jeff Moore, currently serving as the CEO of ICE and lead faculty over in our cervical and lumbar spine divisions. It's always great to be here on a Thursday because Thursday is always Gut Check Thursday. So what do we have this week? This looks interesting. So we've got just one time through, but always sneaky at the end, Alan. So 180 calories in the row, 100 calories for the gents, 80 calories for the gals, and then 100 ab mat sit-ups, which seems reasonable. So of course, snuck in there, we have every 90 seconds, including 0-5 burpees. So, part of the challenge there is the transition, right? That every 90 seconds, you've got to be getting on and off that rower, knocking out those burpees, and then of course be winded getting back to it. So that'll be interesting, and hopefully those ab mat sit-ups can move relatively quickly. So enjoy that. Please tag us, hashtag IceTrain, tag Ice Physio. So fun to watch everybody throw down every week on Gut Check Thursday. What do we have? Courses coming up. We got a bunch of them this weekend. Cervical spine, we got Indianapolis. We have pregnancy and postpartum coming right here to my backyard in Denver. So Alexis and Christina will be down at Onward Denver and Parker, crushing that course. Can't wait to actually get a chance to see them tomorrow. Also this weekend, we have Extremity in Bradenton Beach in Florida at Melissa Reed's shop. Lindsay's going to be down there. That course is already sold out. And next weekend, all roads lead to Sampler. There's only one ice thing going on next weekend, and that is Sampler, and we cannot wait. Going to be an absolute blast. We've got a full house. We have some incredible special guests. Just a lot going on. That's going to make Sampler particularly exciting this year. In our certification testing, of course, is next Friday. All right. So jumping in, I want to talk about this idea of don't slow down, change lanes. I think it's something that we give lip service to and don't put nearly enough focus on. So let's unpack this and let's acknowledge a reality that when we're working with patients, one of the most frustrating things, especially when you're working with athletes, is getting them to slow down, right? Nothing is more frustrating than when you tell an athlete what to modify, and the next thing you see is them on Instagram absolutely sending it, right? On a workout that you are positive is going to flare up their symptoms. Now, the core of this issue is that we're doing the math wrong, okay? This individual has an equation in their being, in their mind, right, that needs to be balanced. And the right side of that equation is moving forward X, right? That is where they are. They need a certain amount of progress to be satisfied. That's who they are as a human. And that's wonderful, right? But instead of trying to suppress this, we have to redirect this. We have to acknowledge that this energy is there. This desire to move forward is there. And energy can't be created or destroyed, right? We have to reallocate it. We cannot abolish it. And we've got to stop trying to do that. So let me give a case example, and then we'll chat this out a little bit. So you've got a competitive CrossFit athlete, right, who's having shoulder pain with maybe explosive gymnastics, okay? And as per always, it started with a major increase in volume, right? There were some programming issues, and it presents like a pretty clear myofascial referral, a rotator cuff issue, right? A posterior cuff issue. So they're sore here, they've got the arm symptoms. You push into that musculature, it refers down the arm. It's probably a little bit weak and inhibited when they try to activate it. Oftentimes activating it causes those symptoms. It's pretty clear myofascial referral from the posterior cuff. You know the goal is to nurture and rehab that muscular unit, right? Extremity Division does an awesome job talking about giving it that rehab dose, right? Keeping the overall intensity of the effort of that muscular unit away from being aggravating, but doing enough volume, you create that metabolic environment that's healing, right? We've got to nurture that muscular unit. On top of that, you're going to be doing some needling. You're going to physically work that muscular unit to give it a little bit of a bump forward. But on top of all of that attention to the muscular unit, you know you need to solve the thing that got us into this in the first place, and that is load management. That's going to be your big ask, and you're dreading it, right? Because you know you're going to have a conversation with this athlete of like, hey, there's so much that we can do for this muscle, but I do need you to maybe stay away from some of those really high-level things, and it's that moment that you're dreading. What you got to acknowledge is that their tolerance, your athlete's tolerance to this redirect is going to be directly proportional. Their willingness to curtail that activity is going to be directly proportional to how well their energy is purposely redirected so that it's still a net forward progress, right? They still achieve that moving forward X on the right side of their equation. They're still looking at their athletic sum as being overall progressing. Your ability to convince them of that is what's going to ultimately decide whether or not you see them on Instagram ignoring what you said and fully sending it, right? And causing your brain to go crazy. So here's my ask to you. The moment you realize this, you've got that athlete, you're like, oh, I know what I've got to talk about. I've got to talk about them curtailing that one thing that they're really shooting for right now. The moment you feel that, you need to begin making the lane change. And my argument is this lane change has two components, and we've only gotten really good at focusing on one of them. So this lane change, when you need that activity to be modified, is twofold, and they're equally important. The first part is the one we talk about all the time, right? This is that we never ask you to stop doing what you're doing. We instead use our creativity to modify it, right? So we're going to find ways for you to achieve a similar stimulus so you don't lose what you've gained. That is totally half of it, right? We're going to find ways that you can do landmine presses for overhead work, that overhead pressing stimulus in different angles that are non-provocative. We're going to find ways to give you drills that still build towards that skill. We're never going to tell you to stop. We are instead going to find ways that you can modify your training for a relatively similar stimulus, albeit not the provocative activity. Okay? But that's only half. Because they're going to see that as a pause, right? And a pause is not net forward progress. A pause is net zero. And net zero means you try to destroy energy. And destroying energy is not what motivated people are ever going to allow. So now you've got net zero. They don't think they're moving backwards. They think you found ways to help them maintain their skill set, their fitness in that specific domain without backsliding while injured. This is good. This is significantly better than just telling them to stop. But it's only half the battle, okay? The other part of this, once you recognize that pausing is not enough, that they're going to perceive that as a backslide, is you have to help them form a goal that results in an overall feeling of them moving forward, that net forward X. This is the skill, and this is the skill that we only give lip service to. This idea that when you see that you have to have a pause in forward progress in a certain space, the ability to mentally redirect their attention to another goal they can crush. This is what they need. This is what them as a person need. That energy needs to go somewhere. This is where it needs to go. There are so few PTs that have the ability to really create this lane change, to create and convince this moment that the athlete feels this new net positive. They won't be backsliding in the one area, and they will be moving forward in another area, creating a goal they didn't expect to chase. That's the skill. So you've got this athlete, and you've got to tell them we are going to slow down on some of the ballistic gymnastics. Do not get me wrong. We are going to maintain your strength overhead. We are going to modify things, right? But can we zoom out? When we were talking about your goals, I know right now you're really chasing on the bar movements. But you also mentioned some struggles on this workout, in this space. Can we zoom back and unpack? What I really want to do is I want to crush one of these other areas and make massive forward progress so that once this shoulder calms down, these things come together and you're better than you ever were before, right? This is the comment of back to baseline is bullshit, right? When the Phoenix rises, because this new capacity is on board that you targeted and slayed, the summation of these two is going to put you in a space you've never been before. We are going to obliterate a weakness you hadn't been focusing on, but you should have. Team, the examples of this could go on forever. With this CrossFit athlete, it could be their VO2 max, right? It could be looking at their fatigue fall-off factor. It could be pointing them towards Peter Attia's work and going 4 minutes on the bike all out, 4 minutes rest, looking at their overall output and showing them that that number is going to be drastically higher in 8 weeks. It could be a raw strength goal. That's always a really good one, right? That building someone's raw strength in an area where they know they've got a deficit that's hampering all sorts of their workouts. It could be a different skill they've never even tried to master, that when they see these massive steps towards, because it's new, so you're going to see all those neuromotor gains that give you these gigantic leaps early on in training. That's going to balance the equation. Team, here's the thing. This is really hard with truly elite athletes because they need the one skill, right? Someone who's trying to qualify for Kona, or somebody who is at the very, very top of their sport, trying to qualify for the Olympics, there are certain levels of eliteness where this won't work because you're redirecting them to a skill that, yes, is valuable, but they really do need the one thing. Everybody else, every other recreational athlete that you're working with, if you unpack it, they wound up chasing that goal somewhat randomly, right? In the gym, that happened to be the focus. Their buddy got that skill. If you really unpack it, it wasn't like it was a life goal. It was one they kind of wound up at. And the beauty of that is they can wind up somewhere else. If you're really good at showing them, okay, I'm glad you were chasing that, but if I have an honest look at kind of where you're trying to go long term, this is really where you need to be, right? That's the skill. Getting them to say, gosh, I guess you're right. That deficit's probably holding me back more than this ever was. Like, in fact, I'm not all that weak there. This is where my time always should have been. And once you've got that, their willingness to back off the gymnastics just went up tenfold. In fact, they might say, this is what I should have been chasing. Our next issue might be an overuse injury over here. But the point is, winds up being that net positive. That's where you have to land, team. That's why it's not working right now in your practice. You're not creating a net positive. You took somebody who was moving forward and you convinced them that just not backsliding was enough. That's not enough for them. That's not who they are. They need to believe they aren't backsliding. That's half of it. And in another area that they now have been redirected to realize is massively important, they are moving forward. So the equation is net forward X, is net positive. That's where these people psychologically have to land. So your skill is not just in modifying the thing you don't want them to do and maintaining their capacity there. It's taking that residual energy that you're going to ask them to hold off from and putting it somewhere productive. The creation of a goal they didn't know they should have. The ability to chase it and see progress in it, and to believe that it's relevant to their greater goal of fitness development. That is the skill that will keep you from seeing this person say to heck with you and sending it on Instagram. These people need to believe they are moving forward X. That has to be the result of the equation. That means not backsliding and having an area of progress. We never do the second one. So next time your athlete has a stress fracture, or next time your athlete has an overuse injury, begin to think about, okay, we aren't going to let you backslide there, but here's what we're going to focus on in the next 8 weeks because it is so relevant. Let me tell you why. And let me tell you, when you make strides towards this goal, why when that stress fracture heals up and you can take that capacity and add it back to where you thought you were going, wait until you see what that does to your performance. Team, that's the conversation. Stop spending so much time on the, I'm sorry you can't do this thing, and talk instead about, look at what we're going to do instead. You didn't realize how important this was, did you? Wait until you see these things come together. That energy now is not being suppressed, it's being redirected. Don't stop. Change lanes. Think about that. In clinic, think about that. I know how frustrating it can be when athletes won't do what you say, but maybe it's because you're not doing your job of managing all their energy. Think about it. All right, team. I'll see you next week. Have an awesome Thursday.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.